Hey guys, Dr. Prometheus here, back with our shortened off-season episode. And we made some changes after having a disappointing finish to the season. At one point, I know September we were something like 9-16. I think combining August and September and the time to the All-Star break, we were something like maybe 20-45. So not a great end of the season. We did have some highlights though. Alek Manoah did get better. Good ERA with a 3.68. Much better than his 4.60. But our biggest surprise was Zach Eflin. He started the year hot. We didn't think he was going to start the year hot. But as the year wore on, he did not finish with the year I thought he would have. To start first half of the season, he had something around a 2.25 ERA, and he finished the season with around a 4.4 ERA. So we might make a move there, as his salary isn't a lot, but Samia Richardson coming up from AAA at 4.64 with a 1.42 whip. Did have 13 quality starts. We can give him the wins. Maybe he should have had 13 wins, but goes 11-8. So not the biggest thing here, but one of our prospects, the guy we drafted last draft, Vaughn Seacrest, batted .304 at AA. Only 20 years old. And then you have Jermaine Skelton at a .277 at AAA. You might see some of those guys kind of stay. Maybe we do a transition to AAA for one of them. Miguel Harada was pretty good. We had Baez and Groscans go down. Michael Copeland was another shocker, batting .295 at AA. AA just couldn't get it done in the championship game though, but it was a pretty good year for those guys. Peter Kobayashi at AAA batted .240, so only still a C potential at 22 years old, but that's pretty good for him. And Tom Mackey, another C potential guy. We had high hopes that he might be a prospect to build around, but a 2.62 average at AAA was not something we thought he would do. Maybe he'd be a bench player, but hey. Another big one, I didn't think this would be the fact, but Jordan Hicks had such a good year, a 1.63 ERA. I thought he would pitch around maybe like a 2.5, but he looked fantastic. One disappointment this season though, Schwarber was off to a hot start and then finished the season with a .219 average. Much lower than he's had. Maybe 2020 was the last time he didn't do too great, and that was injuries with that. But we expect more out of Schwarber. Jurickson Profar, we do have his contract kind of sloping down, but a .246 average for a guy that can come off the bench and play pretty much any position is exactly what we'd want. So Baez only played 115 games, but at .252, still had 96 strikeouts, 70 RBIs, 24 home runs. I think he would have been around what he had last season if he didn't get hurt and not play about 20 to 25 games. But Winker, .243 as well. The drop off with 10 more games. Last season, he was batting .307 and a .243 for a guy that is our DH. We expect more from him at the DH position, especially now that we do have Trey Turner on the team, and a guy that couldn't get on base at the 1 or 2 spot, and he did get on base at the 1 or 2 spot with 207, or he was at a .270 average. And he struck out 105 times, which is probably why guys like Jesse Winker did not have as many RBIs. George Springer, though, had a big year. 262 was his batting, 34 home runs, 98 RBIs, around the same strikeouts. And at age 34, we might look to move him for a big piece in the offseason. So we went ahead and simmed to the World Series. It ends up being Los Angeles against Atlanta. So the Angels here, Jose Urquidy had a pretty good postseason and a pretty good season, but his postseason was great. As you see here, Los Angeles does take a 3-2 lead, and they win it off Jose Urquidy against Mike Soroka. Two good pitchers, and the Angels win the World Series. A 1.26 ERA for Jose Urquidy, and Soroka wasn't too bad as well. We had some coaching turnover. We kind of knew that was going to happen. We brought in, and I'm RPing this, we brought in Joe Girardi to be like the assistant coach, so we're going to move him up to the manager, so we'll see the deal that we give him. Looking at the retirees, some big names in here. Evan Longoria, Buster Posey, Charlie Blackmon, Justin Turner, a former Dodger playing over the Marlins. Like I said again, Charlie Blackmon, who was a starter for Chicago at 38 years old. He's going to retire. Chicago had a couple guys retire that were big. Matt Carpenter coming over from the Cardinals, and I think he bounced around to a couple of AAA teams before he was over on the Cubs playing in a AAA team. Miguel Colon, you got Max Scherzer in there, future Hall of Fame ballot in real life. For some reason, Hall of Famers are only one. I've seen one case where two of them were allowed, but Scherzer would be a guy that makes in the Hall of Fame in real life. Probably a first ballot guy. As we go through the free agents, there's a couple in there that are younger. There's a couple in there that are older, like Robinson Cano, at 41 years old, does retire. Yu Darvish is in there at 38. I think we had some time with him a couple of seasons ago, and as you keep on going down, not much is there. So Robinson Cano is the 2024 Hall of Fame inductee. What a great career with a 301 average. That is insane. Especially when we need to get some guys in the Hall of Fame ourselves in this franchise. So, pretty easy offseason to start with. We had no free agents. We had a lot of guys into arbitration, but no exclusive free agents. So you see here, we're going to make an offer to Joe Girardi to be our new manager. Maybe we can get a guy that's beat the Yankees before. Well, he's been the Yankees, beating the Red Sox. So maybe we can use that against the Yankees to win some postseason games, or at least get into the postseason. Made a couple of moves. Adam Kloffenstein had to come up so he wouldn't get poached off the Rule of 5 draft. And here are our rookies that we drafted this season. So besides Gabriel, we have Alex Rowe, 19 years old, out of Taiwan. Good power hitter, left-handed batter in the outfield. Brian Ma, left-handed pitcher, 20 years old. Tyler Nevin we brought back as well as a reserve guy. Fernando Escobar, a guy that can play a lot of positions. He's going to be down at AAA or AA. We'll see how that works out. William Price, another prospect that will develop at AA. And Juan Samuels, same thing. Maybe he won't get some time quick. But as for arbitration, we pretty much bring everyone back. Besides Caleb Ferguson, it was a guy that we picked up in the Rule 5 draft, and we're going to kind of move on. We'll see where he goes. But for that, I think we had enough pitchers, and I didn't want to game the game, really, on that. We will bring back Matt Foster and Cody Hur, as well as Cody Whitley. And with those guys, we'll look to make a move because those are guys we traded for. We gave up prospects and we had some team control. And in that case, we should be able to get some pieces later. So looking at free agent, cool, and you see Juan Soto, Jacob deGrom's out there. But remember, we don't like to take a lot of qualifying offers. Gleyber Torres, a guy that was playing DH a lot. Yohan Moncada, Shane Bieber, Pete Alonso. Eloy Jimenez was a shocker, not getting a qualifying offer, but they gave him a big contract, so they actually want him to come back, and it was a contract that I knew we couldn't compete with. Chris Paddock was one that was qualified for. Chris Sale had a qualifying offer and an offer. We saw Jose Altuve. Now, I didn't want to go Dominic Smith because we kind of went that direction in our athletics franchise, and I want to do something new. Jose Altuve is one that is very intriguing, and we can use some flexibility if we intend to make a couple trades. I kind of skimmed over a guy that I didn't see there, Victor Robles, who's 27 years old. We'll take a look at him as well. And I'm thinking about what to do with the pitching. So I know Urias, we're not going to do anything with him. We're not going to move him. So that's something to remember. And then in here, we had a couple guys that probably aren't going to hit into the starting lineup. And so they could be trade pieces for a massive, massive deal for a pitcher. I felt like maybe our young guys could be more bullpen arms right now as opposed to having them start, especially at the season that Samia Richardson had. And him being our 5 pitcher is something that I would like. But Gaudry and Logue have worked pretty good out of the bullpen. And so looking at this, we've kind of made Winker our DH. And in right-handed pitching, we've kind of put him on the outfield. But I see George Springer here, 35 years old. I think it's about time we do deal him after this great season. And if we don't intend to do something big, I think we could use that to get a big pitching piece. I didn't really see any pitchers that was big on that did not have qualifying offers. I did think about Kenta Maeda, and we will send him a deal. However, is he something that's our 1 or 2 pitcher? I mean, Urias is up there as the ace, but I feel like we need another pitcher of his caliber, and Kenta Maeda is 32, 33. So, I mean, he's going to start diving with that one. In our bullpen, we have some good arms in here. Freddie Peralta, Jason Farrell is in here. So there's a couple guys we might end up dealing at the end of the day. But I have a good feeling that we can merge some good prospects. We can merge what we've had some good free agents, especially out in the field. But pitching is where I felt like we needed to make a move. And I didn't really see anyone out here. Look at Paxton. Lance Lynn is down here as well. Maybe a guy that could be a long reliever. So we can have a righty and a lefty in a bullpen long reliever. I think that would be a good thing. And Lance Lynn could be a guy that if we have multiple injuries, like we have had at pitching, Lance Lynn could be a guy that could play. But we don't want to give him a massive contract, so we'll see kind of how the market plays with him. It might be a late season pickup. Because as I'm looking through relief pitching, I'm not seeing anyone that could be big names. Geiselman's there, but we've kind of went down that road before. And we have a lefty, but I'd like someone a bit better. To Joey Lateshi down here at 85, but I'm thinking that if we're going to go for anyone that is older, 30s and above, it's got to be someone that could definitely start if we need him to. And I think that's the biggest thing, because I didn't see anything in closer. So we start going through the positions. themselves, catcher, I was kind of iffy on Schwarber after that down year. And Schwarber's like 31, 32. And I was kind of looking if there was anyone else, but we kind of didn't see anyone. But there's Jose Altuve's in there at second base. And I was thinking maybe we can transfer around some infielders. And maybe we'd make a move where, you know, we can't put Biggio out in the outfield. We've been talking about that for the past couple of years. And I think at this point, we are at the juncture where we could do that. I'm looking at left and right fielders. I kind of think Eloy Jimenez would have been a cool thing to do, but I didn't think we could afford that. Tyler O'Neill is tearing up in real life right now. Might be something we do in a later franchise, but it's just not something big there. Going in center, and this is where I see Victor Robles. At 27 years old, had a down year at 218. We could probably get him on a deal at that point, and he can come in and give us a lot of speed out in the outfield, and the fact of a good arm. Ooh, it was too much and too good to pass up. Sterling Marte out there as well, but Nemo. So we look at what we can do, because we think at this point Robles is the guy we want to go with out in the outfield to kind of replace George Springer, and then we kind of platoon if we need to out in the outfield, but Biggio can play out in left field, and then we kind of platoon that DH spot more than anything to be some good hitters. So I'm looking through, I don't see any big pitching prospects that were realistic. Then I started looking at starters, kind of looking at teams that were rebuilding, and then a lot of teams had guys that were 25 to 28, and I didn't think that was realistic in trading there. I saw Tuki Toussaint, but at this point, do we really want to trade with Baltimore? Not really at this juncture. So I go through it again, and I start looking at some of the older guys and seeing if someone would deal. But a lot of the guys, I didn't think they would deal Jose Barrios in this situation because the Twins just made it to the ALDS. So then I'm still going through, and I fall on Marcus Stroman, who we've kind of done. And then eventually I look at Tyler Mahle. I looked at the rest of their young prospects in there were B's and A's. I went back to see how the Reds did last season, and they didn't do very well. So that's the guy we're going to target at that point, Tyler Mahle. So it was a pretty good. He's 30 years old. He's towards the back end, I would consider, of his career. He's been in the league since 2017. Got a couple of years. They could use some second, third, and some infield. It's going to be a big guy that we got to go for, but we'll do it later on when we get some guys in arbitration. So you see there, we gave Kenta Maeda a contract here. We see Jose Altuve, still 34 though, and 90 overall. And we saw Garrett Hampson, who I missed before. At 30 years old, he could be a guy that can platoon around as well. So we'll have Jerickson Profar and Garrett Hampson. And we could have a guy that can come in for DH against left-handed pitchers with a guy like Profar or Hampson. So that was pretty intriguing there. Victor Robles, though, we're going to give him a contract because we need to replace star potential that is out in the outfield in George Springer. Jose Altuve, at 34 years old, has not really declined. He kind of reminds me more of a Javi Baez type upgrade. He's probably at the max that he'll be. But a guy like Altuve, giving him an option and probably coming in and getting a ring if we can get the team going, or at least a deep playoff run. I thought that was pretty intriguing there. We also give Garrett Hampson that contract I was talking about. Only a 1-year contract. So it was a guy that could come in play DH, play here, there. But I know we need to worry about signing our long-term all-stars. So I start simming here. Chris Paddock goes to the Brewers to go play in the National League, moving over from San Diego. And Jose Altuve takes a 2-year, $17 million deal. So only 2 years till he's 36. And here is our trade. We trade Eflin, Strumpf, and Springer to the Reds for Tyler Mahle. So with that gives them 2 or 3 starting players in the infield that are younger, and then George Springer, who they didn't have anyone out in the outfield playing there, and they get to kind of build around those young guys. I did change one of their positions so they would play and help out the team. And then the Braves were absolutely adamant in trying to give me Trey Riley. I got about 5 or 6 trades from them for Trey Riley. They were trying to dump him. An actual intriguing prospect, but we have enough pitching prospect depth. As we see Shane Bieber go to the Cardinals. Danny Jensen, remember that Wilson Contreras did move on. Joey Lucchesi goes over to the Dodgers. Gleyber Torres to the Mets. So the Mets want a big arm and a big batter for that offense. And he's going to have to play the field now, being in the National League. And again, Trey Riley trying to give it. Tom Mackey, he's just too valuable at this point. Jacob deGrom stays in the National League over to Washington. And we have Michael Fulmer to the Dodgers. And this is where I kind of set it up. So, Julio Urias, Tyler Mahle, Kenta Maeda, Alek Manoah, and Samuel Woods Richardson are the guys that will be the starters in the rotation. Some big names, especially with Maeda, Urias, and Mahle, and I think we could do some damage long term with Manoah doing pretty well. Manoah does require a contract next year, and it's going to be a lot. But we also have some young bullpen guys with Farrell, Peralta. Hicks is only 29, if that. So, some good stuff in our bullpen. I'm pretty confident with that. We see here Archie Bradley is dealt over the Orioles for Farrell and Hitoki Fukumura. Another trade here with Novi Marte going to the Cardinals. Mariners get Giovanni Gallegos, Dakota Hudson, and Carlos Spadova. So here, I made the decision that Rogers is not going to be the guy that is our future at third or short. I mean, that's really up to the fact that we have some good players here, and I'm bigger on them. And the big players that I'm hopeful, Peter Kobayashi at second. I felt like when we have Profar and Garrett Hampson, that having a guy that could just play in the infield in reserve like that wasn't really needed because we had the depth there. Bringing Jose Altuve at second, meaning Biggio goes out left now. So we did get Maikel Franco also with that trade, and we have another guy that can sit on the bench and kind of play any of the infield spots. So we didn't really need Rogers. We did send him to a team that will likely start, though. That was realistic. So here's our contract situation to end the episode here. We are at max. So we have some players that will go down. We did re-sign 2 big deals with Bitchette and actually Cavan Biggo and Guerrero. We still got to sign Bitchette to a massive deal. He wants $30 million for next season, and I think we can fit it. We'll just have to move some guys around. But plus, we have a lot of guys that I think have that money that are on 1-year deals that we could do something, and I think we have enough depth at the minor leagues to do that. So, thanks for hanging out, guys. That was how the offseason went. We'll have the next couple of episodes be a spring training and it's into opening day. So thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you guys next time. Later.